Legends ZA is the best Pokemon game ever. Argue with a wall. Well, I lied, but to be honest, there's a lot more to talk about this game than just the balconies and the walls adjacent. From gameplay mechanics to the continuation of the story laid prior in X and Y to the map design and character crafting, I promise we can get into much more than just the borderline 3DS graphics in a 2025 game. And yes, that's a little not so sneaky sneak diss. Just a fair warning, this video obviously comes with every spoiler known to man about this game, so click off if you haven't gone through the story and plan on doing that. Thank you. And please drop a sub while you're at it too. First things first, let's get into the game mechanics. I actually think this is where Legends ZA shines the most, believe it or not. I know it's not your stereotypical Pokemon game with turn-based combat and methodical setup approaches, but it's also not your stereotypical mainline Pokemon game. I think the gameplay is a refreshing break from the regular formula and gives a more high-octane level of stakes to the battles. Not only that, but this new system allows you to jump your ops, which is low-key pretty sick if you ask me. The only real issue I have with this system is that nothing gives priority anymore unless I was just playing wrong. People can hit your Pokemon the second they pop out of the Pokeball and are like mid animation, mind you, even when your last Pokemon just fainted, meaning somebody can just steamroll you if you happen to have a shit matchup versus one of their Pokemon. But I digress. Gameplay mechanics in terms of climbing were amazing too. I never thought I'd see the day that you can mantle anything in Pokemon, let alone rooftops and climbing courses. It was a really cool sneaky feature to make the city of Lumiose feel fuller and that it has more to offer. The last thing I wanted to touch on in terms of gameplay was the raid boss-esque mechanics that were offered in the Rogue Mega Evo Pokemon, which made Pokemon feel like Final Fantasy XIV for a minute. I feel like they expanded on what we saw in Arceus in a tasteful way that made for some really cool mechanics. I'd like to see it go a step further in the next Legends game and give us those same style of mechanics with more variety in terms of battleground. With that in mind, that takes us to our next topic. In terms of world design and the map structure offered in Lumiose, I try my best to keep an open mind while playing and understand this was your experimental version of Pokemon. It's just a Legends game, so we can't expect the world. Unfortunately, I was personally really disappointed by the map design. This isn't to say that you can't enjoy it, and to be honest, the whole texture debate doesn't interest me one bit. My biggest issue that Lumiose had to offer in terms of map was that there was no exploration really at all. Once you kind of walked around, you'd seen everything it had to offer. The wild zones were just reused areas of the map that you'd already been, and majority of the places you found yourself going were already places that you could have visited without following the story, minus a few little buildings. Furthermore, there is a shit ton of buildings that you cannot even enter. I just don't understand how you make a city based in a relatively small map and then you don't make more buildings that are enterable. This isn't GTA 5. It's not like you would have had to have made 3,000 properties be enterable, but not even all the cafes, the copy and paste cafes, and Prism Tower. Oh my god, don't get me started. How do you base an entire game on one city where the focal point of this is this massive tower that looks like the Eiffel Tower, a tower that was enterable in games that came out a decade ago, and then say, no, you actually never get to step foot in it because we don't want to model the inside. You can't even go near it, actually. You can try and explain it away with lore all you want, but I promise you that was just an excuse. There's no good reason that you are never able to enter it through the entire game. Anything that was wrote into the lore to justify that is exactly that, a justification. And now that shitty little rusted power line looking thing is a stain on Kalos forever. This is in the lore now. When I defend Kalos's map, I have to defend this little freak. Are you kidding me? The character crafting of Legends ZA was actually kind of bittersweet to me. I think the new characters they introduced were fleshed out really well, and I think that's something modern Game Freak actually manages to get right a lot of the time. Sword and Shield, Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, and now ZA all have a really strong cast of characters that breathe life into the game and make interactions feel entertaining and varied. My biggest struggle with ZA's character work actually isn't in the new characters, but rather the OGs. I was a massive fan of X and Y, probably my second favorite Pokemon game, and when I heard that Lysander, AZ, Floette, and Zygarde were going to be the focal point of this story, it felt like it was Christmas or something. Unfortunately, I got coal for Christmas. I feel like Lysander and AZ were handled insanely poorly, directly contradicting both the characters we knew them to be and betraying the characters that they were introduced as in this new installment. And Zygarde, for the life of me, I cannot understand his mindset. You just saved a man who tried to obliterate Kalos, and then you make him your best friend and the carrier of your message when you're supposed to be the protector of the environment. Luckily, his gamble paid off for plot reasons, and I just think it's a really shitty explanation dumb to say that Lysander just becomes the good guy after Zygarde saves him, which makes no sense for him to have done in the first place. Not only that, but with Lysander taken away as the main antagonist, you come to find out there is no antagonist. The entire game, everybody just becomes your best friend. Then you take down a sentient Plants vs. Zombies tower that was made by guess who? Fucking AZ himself, the creator of 2 evil towers of death now. The first tower being what set off this tower's meltdown, and guess what? He's never pulled in as the antagonist either. You have Naveen scold him for like maybe 2 text boxes, and then it's on to the next topic like he just told you he accidentally ate your lunch out of the fridge in the break room. Brother, he made 2 murder towers. At least Naveen had the nuts to say something. The rest of these little freaks were just cool with it. Lysander, AZ, and even Zygarde have their character concepts butchered, and not even to replace them with something more compelling. Like if they had a role swap where AZ was the full-on villain and Lysander was the good guy, that would have been cool. But no, everyone's a good guy and the evil Tower of Death is the bad guy. No clue who made it. I guess we'll never know. A couple miscellaneous ones on the side before I let you go. I thought the Pokemon models in this game were very cute, even though nothing about them were necessarily special. Sablei's eyes look a little adorable in this game. I don't know what it is. Phantump is a real banger of a model too. I mean, I could go on and on. The day-night cycle cutscene sucks. The final boss fight sucks. The racial diversity in this game was amazing. The amount of side quests was perfect. And exactly what I want in a Pokemon game. Felt Breath of the Wild-esque. There's really too much to say about this game in one video. The only thing I can say is that overall it was really fun in my first playthrough, but there definitely was a lot of flaws. When people get hung up on the whole graphics debate, it really kills me because yes, it's 2025 and we deserve better. But at the end of the day, it just gives a cop-out to both people who use it to blindly criticize the game despite having never played it, and to contrast, people who really love the game think it's the only criticism being made about the game. There's lots to say about ZA. I hope that we can open the dialogue and talk a little bit more on what we actually enjoyed and thought needed to be improved, because there's just too much to say on both sides of the spectrum. Stopping it at the graphics debate is fucking stupid. Overall, I'm annoyed that I pre-ordered the DLC and my money's already gone, but I'm going to go into it planning to have a fun time, and no matter what, I'll stick to being the Pokemon guy. I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments though. Is there anything I misunderstood in the story or that I missed discussing in this video? Leave a comment below and please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 by December.